It's time to deep dive into the firearms industry. Whether you're looking to grow your gun-related business, learn more about industry trends and opportunities, or just want to hear from the gun guys and gals who make our world tick, we've got you covered. Welcome to Tactical Pay Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tactical Pay Radio. I'm your host, Brett Grayson, and this is the podcast where I get to talk to the professionals of the firearms industry. And I got a fantastic show for you today. My guest today is Trey Miller. Trey is a Marine Corps veteran who started Ghost Tactical Productions back in 2017, and they have increased their viewership, or I guess listenership, a lot. So I can't wait to pick his brain and find out what is going on here. Why do you have so many subscribers to your YouTube channel? What's the secret sauce? Is it the secret sauce or the secret in the sauce? I'm still working on that. Okay, so you got to go to his website, Ghost Tactical Productions, and there's a lot going on there. It's not just podcasts. There's gear, there's product reviews, and that's really what he's known for, are these elaborate, very thorough product reviews. Each one of them is a crash course in what goes into everything from guns to guns paraphernalia. So check out his product reviews at his website or at gear-report.com. He also hosts a live show, which I don't have the guts to do. And I guess that's the difference between Marine and a non-Marine. And that's where he and his guests talk about, it's everything gun culture is a good way to describe it. It's called Tactical Tuesday. He's also the host of the Armed Citizen podcast, where he and his guests talk about the roles and responsibilities of armed citizens. So he's a busy guy. He's got a lot going on. Wears a lot of different hats. Trey, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, Brett, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
That was a lengthy introduction to say you're very active and successful in the podcast community.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. Sure, yeah.
Your YouTube channel has almost 30,000 subscribers, and that's a lot for such a niche market and in such a short amount of time. So what's going on there? To what do you the interest in your YouTube channels and your podcasts?
As far as the channel and the reviews and all of that on the YouTube side, a lot of it comes down to, I think that more people in America are waking up to the idea of being your own personal defender. And there's a lot more people concealed carrying. There's a lot of people getting into guns that may not have done that 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago. I think they're starting to realize that being your own warrior, your own personal defender is something that it's really something that people are taking up as a part of their lifestyle. And as far as the growth, I think a lot of it comes down to just being consistent. You try to put out content that people like, but I think a lot of people get stuck in that rut of trying to figure out what people like. And so basically from day one, what we've tried to do here is I put out content that I personally would watch, and content that I would personally think that I'd be entertained by or learn something from, or whatever that may be, and just trust that there are other people out there that have the same interests as me, that have the same quirky sense of humor, smart alecks and all of that stuff, that enjoy laughing at themselves and not taking everything too seriously. But then when it's time to flip that switch, you can go straight up serious mode. And I think a lot of it comes down to is just being consistent and not trying to chase trends. I think there's a lot of people, not just in the gun community on YouTube, but in YouTube in general, they try to chase trends to try to get that viral video. And it's not a sprint. It's definitely a long distance marathon that you just got to be consistent. You got to grind, you got to work hard. And ultimately it just comes down to being lucky, honestly.
Yeah, well, you said it, content is king, and you put out tons of content. This is not a side gig for you. Ghost Tactical is a full-time job and then some. Did you have the gift of gab in your platoon? I know you were a Marine. I didn't say former Marine. Every time I say former Marine, something gets thrown at me. No such thing as a former Marine.
Former Marine is a lot better than ex-Marine. In our eyes, you can call us former Marines. Just don't ever call us ex-Marines, because we're never not.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. So when you were deployed or when you were serving, were you the guy that had the gift of gab?
I've always been that kind of lighthearted guy that likes to have fun, but I also can be extremely serious when the time needs to be. Obviously, you got to learn how to flip that switch. And I think one of the biggest things that's helped me in my normal life, the Marine Corps taught me, is how to compartmentalize things. And you've got to be able to flip those switches pretty easily. And I've never been nervous with talking. I've never been nervous in crowds. I've never been nervous speaking, public speaking. A lot of it is just, I think maybe it's confidence. And there's one thing that a Marine is that people always say is we are definitely confident individuals. So yeah, speaking's never been a big deal to me. I look at it as just have conversation, and public speaking is just a conversation with a lot of people instead of one.
Yeah. Well, they say public speaking is one of the top fears among people, right up there with death. And for you to say that you've never had any fear of public speaking, it reminds me of that documentary about the free solo climber, Alex Honnold. I don't know if you saw that, but they wanted to figure out, why doesn't he fear these climbs like other people? And so they did an MRI on him and found out his amygdala wasn't working. So,
oh, there you go.
There you go. So what I'm saying is we need to schedule you for an MRI. No,
I've had one or two in my life. Unfortunately, the results came back negative. And I think they're negative is I don't have anything up there to really worry about because there's nothing there. So that might help as well.
No news is good news.
This is true.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to get your opinion on this district judge in San Diego. He has a history of being pro Second Amendment. Last year, he ruled that California's ban on high-capacity magazines was unconstitutional, and you can follow his logic there. If you want the Constitution to say that citizens can't have high-capacity magazines, then it needs to say that. Otherwise, it's not in there, and that's a fair enough assessment. But he's making news this past week because he said that the so-called assault weapons ban in California violates our Second Amendment right to bear arms, and depriving Californians from owning an AR-15 is not constitutional. So this decision was a big deal because it can set a precedent, and if it goes to the Supreme Court and they don't overturn his decision, it's a big deal in the firearms community because, one, it means that the judicial branch of our government understands how AR-15s work. And so, but it puts the gun community at large in a weird position. And this is why I'm bringing it up to you, because on the one hand, you and I and other people who keep up with gun violence and the statistics, we know that AR-15s comprise a tiny fraction of gun murders in America. But on the other hand, AR-15s are the weapon of choice for all the mass killings in recent history. So there's that juxtaposition of the stats don't back up any reasonable explanation for a ban. But on the other hand, the media, it tells a story. So what are your thoughts on this judge's decision and whether or not an AR-15 should be legally owned by everyday American?
I'll tackle the second one first. And I've got many of them that is my rifle of choice for sports shooting and all of that. I love an AR-15 platform. I actually probably enjoy shooting an AK platform better, but I like the modularity and all of that of the AR-15 platform probably much better. Ironically, some of the stats you're talking about, the media will put the AR-15 platform as the weapon of war, the scary black rifle, and the choice for mass murders and all of that. And what they tend to leave out, I'm not saying that it's a good thing or bad thing, but handguns are used to commit murder tenfold probably than an AR-15. But they never want to go after handguns. But what happens is they see an AR-15, and without knowing anything about it, it looks like a weapon of war. Why? Because it's the same design as the old M16. So they think that this is a military style weapon and all of that. Just because something looks like something doesn't mean it is. Also, what they have to realize is that the AR-15 platform is used for so many different things. It's used for competition shooting. It's used for hunting. It's used for training. It's used for so many different things that have nothing to do with taking a human life. And they don't realize that because they're uneducated. And do we blame them? We always talk bad about the media and Bloomberg and all of the people that are out there against the scary black rifles. But a lot of it just
Mhm.
comes down to they're ignorant. And I'm not using ignorant in a bad way, just they're ignorant. They don't know. And I think that we're missing an opportunity to educate people instead of fighting back all the time and yelling and shall not be infringed and from my cold dead hands. I think that we're missing an opportunity to educate these people and say, look, let's have a pleasant, civil conversation. And I'm not going to talk down to you, but I want to explain some of the things that you seemingly don't understand about this platform. And I think if we start doing that, maybe are we going to change minds? Maybe not. Are we going to plant a seed for them maybe go do some more research and say, you know what, maybe these things aren't what we think they are. So
Yeah, changing minds is actually a lofty goal, but getting politicians to not pass bad laws, that is an admirable goal that is within reach. So that's really, you have to be realistic about what is the purpose of all the education.
I think a lot of it comes down to not just politicians, but the media and people that are writing these pieces in magazines and newspapers and on websites and everyone that's involved with the anti-gun quote unquote movement. And a lot of it just comes down to this. One, they're uneducated. So they really don't know what they're talking about. They don't have firsthand experience. They really haven't done their research. They're just taking what they've heard from other people and passing it on as their own ideas and facts. And I think one of the best ways to educate them is if you have someone that you know in your life, whether media or a politician or just someone in general that is seemingly anti-gun, that doesn't think anyone should have guns, approach them in a nice, fun way. If you're friends with them, say, hey, would you do me a favor? Would you come to the range with me one time? And I just want you to experience shooting a firearm in a safe, fun manner to where you understand maybe why we enjoy it so much. And I think once people shoot a gun for the first time, they get it. Because I remember, I'm sure you do too. I think everyone, when they first shot their first gun, they're like, oh yeah. I've never met anyone that had a terrible experience shooting a gun for the first time if they were taught the right way. And so I think that might be the first step, is to encourage and ask people to go to the range with you, and one person by one person. And you never know, we might be able to turn these people into allies down the road if we show them a safe, fun environment, allow them to shoot a firearm for the first time. You never know, they might enjoy it.
I remember my first time shooting guns, and it was at a Boy Scout event. And I remember thinking it's really exciting because you're learning how to do something new, and it's just exciting by its nature. But I also remember being not just interested, but like super interested and when I realized how hard it is to be good at it. And I realized, wow, it would take a long time and a lot of reps to get as good as so-and-so, one of the kids' dads in the troop. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is an art. And so you watch the movies, all the good guys in every movie, they're just right on the money with every shot. And I remember realizing, okay, I would need a few years before I want to show anybody my results.
Exactly. Well, I think being safe and being proficient with your firearm is something I preach on almost every podcast, whether I'm hosting or I'm a guest on someone else's. Get some training, be proficient, be safe. Those are the key elements to any responsible gun owner. So yeah, those are extremely important for sure.
I've noticed on your podcast, you are not faking it. You love talking about guns and gun-related things and everything back and forth. So you're the perfect candidate for a YouTube channel that reviews firearms-related products. So I just wanted to say, give you a tip of the cap to, he's legit. Because some people, they see an opportunity to capitalize on a market, and maybe they're faking the funk. And no names mentioned, but you know it when you see it. But I also know sincerity when I see it, and that's you. So here's my question. You have a podcast, and it's called Jarhead. But in my mind, because I was not in the military, but I always thought jarhead was like the term you use to make fun of Marines. Like you call the Air Force the chair force, right? Because like no Air Force cadet would start a podcast called Chair Force.
Not unless they got a really demented sense of humor.
Maybe. But then I thought, oh, I see. He's embracing it and he's steering into the swerve. So good on you if that's the case.
Yeah, what people don't realize is, one, most Marines are pretty arrogant. Let's just be real. That's how they want us. That's how they train us. That's how they programmed us. That's why it was so difficult through combat training and boot camp and all that. They broke you down and they want you into this arrogant, bulletproof machine. And so, yes, we are pretty arrogant. We're extremely confident. But a lot of people don't realize the term jarhead, for us, that's a term of endearment. A lot of people try, what's up, jarhead? We love that. We love being called devil dogs and jarheads and leathernecks and all of that. There's really not a whole lot you can make fun of us with because we embrace it all. We're like, hey, I'd rather be talking bad about me than not talking about me at all. So it's all good.
Fair enough. Okay. I've heard that the Army, they say who, and then the Marines, they say oorah, and the Navy and the Coast Guard, they say hoo-yah, and the Air Force, they say okie dokie.
You know, I very well could. I'm just saying they've got a whole different world. They live in the country club lifestyle. I'm just going to say that. Now, I will say this. When people ask me all the time, a lot of high school kids ask me about joining the military and joining the Marine Corps. And I said, it takes a very special person to make it in the Marine Corps. And that's not for everyone. But I also tell them, if you're looking to have a lot of fun, to challenge yourself, to do things that most people in this world will never get a chance to do, then go try to be a Marine. It's worth it. If you're looking for a trade, a skill, a college education, and you want to serve your country, but you want something more out of life, then I have no problem telling the Air Force is probably the way to go. What they do, they're very good at. Each branch is awesome. You'll hear veterans talking back and forth to each other within the branches, and we call the Air Force chair force or fly boys. We call the Army the doggies. We call the Navy guys squids, and they call us jarhead or other words that I probably can't say on this podcast, but it's
crayon eaters.
Well, crayon eaters, and they see that wasn't a thing before, but I've embraced a crayon thing. One of my viewers sent me a box of crayons, and I love it. It's one of my things that if you ever check out my Tuesday show, it's right there behind me, and it's just a box of crayons, and it's awesome. I love it. We will give each other crap all the time, back and forth. But the one thing that the general public needs to know about any branch, any veteran, any active duty, we can talk smack about each other. If you try to talk smack about anyone, you're going to have all of us on you, and it's not going to be fun for you. So, we like to talk a little smack back and forth, but it's all fun and games. We're all brothers in arms, and we all served. We all took the oath. We all fought. We all took the oath for that flag and all that. So, yeah, it's good. I do want to get back, though. I do want to get back to the whole decision in San Diego because I totally forgot to answer that. I apologize.
Oh, sure.
So maybe you can edit it and put it back earlier in the thing. Whatever.
Nah, we'll leave it as it is.
All right. So as far as the decision, quote unquote, assault weapons ban, it still has a long process. And you brought it going to the Supreme Court, but it's still got a process before that. It's probably going to go to maybe the state Supreme Court. And then I believe California is in the Ninth Circuit. So it might even go to a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals before it may even get to the U.S. Supreme Court. But I'll say this. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's just going to get overturned. Doesn't mean anything. No, it means a great deal. It means that there are judges, especially behind enemy lines in California, that have the guts and the courage to say, this is wrong. This is not constitutional. And you can't deprive the right to bear arms and the inalienable right to self-defense because you don't like the look of some kind of a weapon system or whatever. I have a friend of mine that I was actually talking to him last night. He lives in California, and I'm going to utilize what he said because it makes perfect sense for people out there that said this isn't a big deal and it might not mean anything. Well, here's the thing. We're trying to push a boulder to the end line. The end line is no NFA, just be free with guns and trust the citizenship that we're going to take care of our own and we're going to be safe and all of that. That's where we're trying to push this boulder, especially out in California or in Illinois, New York, New Jersey, different places that are seemingly just really, really battling their rights up there and over there. But he said the great thing about this is a rock. It may not be the whole boulder, but it's a piece of rock that we've pushed. So now we don't have to push as big of a boulder next time. And it's little piece by little piece. And we talk about I'm not going to call them Republicans or Democrats. I'm not going to call them conservatives or liberals. I'm going to talk about the people and the politicians that are anti-gun they have a very good system of death by 1,000 cuts. They're not trying to get rid of everything in one fell swoop. They're going to go piece by piece. And the pro-gun side of the politicians and the activists and all of that are just learning that. And so, yes, it may not be the biggest deal in the world, but it is a huge deal because it's one cut. It's one piece of that boulder that we don't have to push anymore. And it is a big deal. And like you said, what if it does make its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court and the Supreme Court upholds it? What does that do? That changes the entire ball game nationwide. And that is a big deal. So we can't get to that point without little steps like this.
Sure, and it doesn't just hold judicial precedent. It also has a ripple effect into the ATF. And then,
Yes.
So yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up with you, because very few people know guns and gun culture better than you. And so that's why you're one of the experts we bring on. But here's an important, if not directly related question. You review a lot of different firearms on your podcast and then your written up reviews and your YouTube channel. How are you able to afford all that ammo? Where are you getting that from?
Just being patient over time. And right now it seems like ammo's scarce. And when you can find it, it's triple, 4, 5 times the price it was a year and a half ago. The problem that most people have is they don't stock up. And when times are good, and I tell those people all the time, if you've got 3,000 rounds sitting there that you never touch, well, guess what? The next time, and this is going to happen again, guys, this is 5, 6 years down the road, the same thing, whatever's going to happen, but there's going to be another quote unquote ammo crisis. There was another one in 2013. It's going to happen every decade. There's going to be something. So prepare for it. When you go to if prices are good, they're normal and ammo is plentiful. When you go to the gun shop or wherever you get your ammo and you're going to buy 2 boxes of ammo, buy 3, take one of those boxes, put them in a storage room and forget about them. The next time you go buy ammo and you buy 2 boxes, buy 3. You put another box in the back. And over 5, 6 years until the next crisis happens, next thing you know, you open up your drawers, you're like, oh, wow, I've got like 3,000 or 4,000 rounds of 9mm that I totally forgot about. So a lot of it comes down to I've had a surplus. Now, that surplus is not quite as large as it used to be because I can't find it at a good price. But I have never worried about ammo because I prepare for it ahead of time. And like I said, when I go buy ammo, I'll buy 3 instead of 2, or I'll buy 5 instead of 4, or whatever the case may be. And I'll put some aside. And I literally found some in January that I found like 200 or 300 rounds that I totally forgot that I even put in this place. I was cleaning up and I was like, oh, wow, here's 200 and some odd rounds just sitting here. Totally forgot about them. And that's a beautiful thing.
When the zombie apocalypse comes, you're going to have a lot of people knocking on your door, a lot of people coming over.
Well, I'll put it this way. I'm not going to tell you how much I try to keep on hand because it's kind of embarrassing. But I have friends of mine that have 10 times. We're talking people that have 25, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 rounds of particular calibers just sitting there, whether it's in already bought ammo or they have the reloading materials that they can reload 25,000 rounds if they want to. They've got all of that stuff set aside just in case. So I don't worry about ammo a whole lot, but some of my friends make me look like an amateur. So it's all good.
But fair enough. Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I missed by not joining the military is all the people you meet along the way. I wanted to ask you now a directly related question. What is your preferred hearing protection? Because one of my big fears, I'm 37, and I've seen a lot of the guys in my family go deaf somewhere around their 60s and 70s. And should I be lucky enough to make it to that age, I want to retain my hearing as much as possible. But I'm a teacher, so I don't even deal with loud noises. Hardly at all. Yeah, well, I was about to say, hold on, wait, do I? I thought, okay, maybe with the 7th graders. Now, so I'm asking you, have you reviewed hearing protection? And is that something that you consciously think about? Or are you just a badass Marine and like put that on the back burner?
I've done some reviews for different people for hearing protection. I wear hearing protection every time I shoot, no matter what. For me, though, it really all depends. If I have the time to grab my stuff at home and all that, I like the earmuff style, but the electronic. I don't know if you've ever used electronic earmuffs before.
No.
Those are my favorite. They're just like the gamer's headset, the podcast headsets, the earmuff style hearing protection, but they're electronic. And what it does is you turn them on and you can have a conversation with someone just talking normal volume and you can hear them just fine. But once that volume gets above a certain decibel, it cuts it out. And so you can be talking to someone normally, and in the background, someone's shooting in, and it's going to muffle it out to where it's not saying you can't hear it, but it's definitely a decibel level that is very easily. Like those electronic earmuffs are probably the best, and there's different brands. They all are good. But if I had to choose one to go with, it would definitely be the electronic earmuff style, because like I said, you can have a conversation and they're comfortable. And then as soon as you start shooting, it's going to be like kind of like noise cancellation, like those Bose ear things. They have noise cancellation, except once it reaches a certain decibel level, it cuts it out, but you can still hear me and you talk, no problem.
Oh, I'm really glad to hear that you're as careful as your parents, I'm sure, would want you to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you just one more question, and then we'll get to the rapid fire segment. But for listeners who are unfamiliar with Ghost Tactical, where should they start?
You can go to the website, ghosttacticalproductions.com, and it's going to give you links to our Armed Citizen podcast, our Jarhead podcast, all of that, our Instagram, all of it's going to have on the front page, it's going to have links to every social media platform that we're on. So you can at least dab a little bit in all of those. As far as a YouTube, what we've tried to do is on the front page of our YouTube channel, we give you the very top of what we do, or a channel sample. And so we'll have a playlist of some different podcasts, playlists of our top 5 lists, a playlist of range drills, a playlist of product reviews. So it's right there on the front page. If you're interested in product reviews, click on that playlist and we'll have 100 and some odd product reviews we've done. If you're interested in one of the podcasts, they're there, or the top 5 lists, or our military stuff, or whatever you're interested in. Right there on the front page of our YouTube channel is called Channel Sample. And it'll kind of give you a little bit of idea of everything that we do, and dive in. And I tell people all the time, especially if you're new, we try to answer every comment, or at least acknowledge it. It might take us a few days because we get a lot of them, but we try to answer every comment. So if you have a question, a lot of people think, oh, YouTubers and all that, they don't care. They're not approachable. They won't listen. They won't answer questions. We're going to try, man. So if you have a question while you're watching a video, leave a comment and say, hey, I don't understand this, or can you explain this, or thanks for the help, or I need some help. And I'll get back to you within a week at the very latest. Usually it's within 2 or 3 days.
Well, you're pushing 30,000 subscribers. And so I think once you get to 50,000, that's when the free stuff starts coming in. So I'm really rooting for you.
Well, I've been very blessed since day one. I've got a lot of contacts in our industries, and with SHOT Show and different industry events that I go to. I've been very blessed to work with a lot of amazing companies that do send products our way to review. And I actually work with some companies that will send me products before the review release out in the public to test for them, to say, hey, what do we need to change? And so, yeah, I think our niche is a little bit different. Like I said, I've been very blessed to have some friends and call friends, a lot of these great companies in our industry, to have working relationships with them. So I've been very, very blessed, for sure.
Will we be seeing you at the NRA convention in Houston in September?
Absolutely. I go to every SHOT Show in January. I go to every NRAM. I try to go to USCCAs when I can, depending on what time of year they are. At one Wanamaker gun show in Tulsa they have 2 a year, one in April, one in November. I'm at least at one of them every year, if not both. So I try to get to as many industry events as I can. I do have a full-time job, so sometimes, especially during the summertime, it gets a little hairy in there. But NRAM being in September this year will be a little bit easier, and USCCA being in October will be easier. But yeah, I plan on being there. As a matter of fact, a bunch of us are already starting to plan our Airbnb for the weekend.
Look at you planning ahead. That's great. Okay, well, we are now at the rapid fire segment, and that's where I just throw a few fastballs your way and take your best shot. Speaking of SHOT Show, the first question is, which movie most accurately portrays Marine life?
It's not necessarily a movie. It was a documentary, and it's called Generation Kill. And it was on HBO. If you're familiar with Generation Kill, my opinion, that gives you, as far as being downrange and outside the wire and that lifestyle, Generation Kill, the way that we talk to each other, the way that our mannerisms are, the way that we act around each other, and the closeness and all of that. Generation Kill, to me, is as close to the real thing as I've seen ever.
Okay. Would you say Jarheads is the worst?
I wouldn't say it's the worst. I enjoyed it. There are aspects of that are very, very accurate. There are aspects of that may not be, but understand that every job and everyone's units are different. And so what we might have gone through at certain times and what they went through in different times and places and all that are going to be different. There are parts of Jarhead that hit home. There are parts of Jarhead that are either Hollywood or it's what it is.
Yeah. Well, they got to put butts in seats.
They do.
I respect that. Yeah.
Absolutely. They got to make some money. And I'll say this, as far as making movies about Marines and military, as long as they're not dogging servicemen and women or veterans, and they're not just completely crapping on them and making them look like terrible human beings, as long as they're respecting what we did and what we continue to do.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's the problem I had with Full Metal Jacket. It was so dark. And I love the Army. Oh my God, his name.
Artie Ermy.
Thank you. Gosh, why is it a tongue twister?
Gunny.
That's so rude.
Old Gunny, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the movie was so dark that it made it difficult to appreciate his performance and that amazing boot camp montage. And so I don't know. What do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down to Full Metal Jacket?
Full Metal Jacket is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a thumbs up, but there's a caveat to this. If they were to stop the movie right after boot camp scene, and that's the movie, it'd be my favorite movie of all time. I didn't not enjoy the rest of the movie, but for me, now they can't show you, they can't depict what true boot camp is like because people really don't want to know what goes on in that. Trust me, moms definitely don't want to know what really goes on in boot camp. But that depiction of boot camp in Full Metal Jacket was as close as you will ever see of what Marine Corps boot camp is like to a certain degree in the movie theater. That's the closest it's ever going to be. And people don't realize that Artie Ermy is or was an active duty Marine at the time. He was a drill instructor. He was there to help out the actor get the part right. And they realized he's not going to get this right, but this guy, like, he's an actual drill instructor. So they hired him to actually do that. He wasn't there to be an actor, which is crazy.
Nobody can act that well.
No.
I think more people now know him as the voice of the sergeant in Toy Story.
Sure. And I was fortunate to meet Gunny once at SHOT Show.
Oh, you did? How about that?
And it was amazing.
Oh, that's too cool.
And the cool thing about Gunny is he is who he is. He's the same person when he was alive, and you up to meet him and see. There's a kind of a cool thing that people don't realize, that during the week of SHOT Show, there's a bunch of parties every night. One party is called the Marine Party, and you pretty much have to be a Marine to know where to go, what time and where it is and all of that. And it's a get together of all the Marines that are there in Vegas for SHOT Show. He was there, and he was in hog heaven, man. It's one of those things where it's a fraternity. A lot of people are Sigma Chi or Phi Delts or whatever they are in college. This is our fraternity, man. So
you guys were in hog heaven being around him. And very few legit Marines are celebrities. Rob Riggle, the list is pretty short.
Yeah, you've got Drew Carey.
Sure.
Most people don't realize that Drew Carey was a Marine. Walt Disney was dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps, but Walt Disney was a Marine.
No.
Gene Hackman's a Marine. But yeah, it's not a long list. It's not Rob Riggle was either a major or a lieutenant colonel. Like, he was in for like 20 years. He was legit for a long time Marine. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, here's the final question on the rapid fire segment. In the event of a zombie apocalypse, what firearm do you recommend our listeners go with?
So people that watch my stuff and all of that know that I have what I call a battle rifle. And it's a rifle. It's kind of a Frankenstein. It's in the shell of a Smith & Wesson M&P AR-15 and 5.56. But basically, only the shell is a Smith & Wesson. It's kind of Frankenstein together, where I put new barrels, new grips, new charging handle, new BCG, flash hiders, all sorts of stuff. I've got a lot of stuff, but it's called a battle rifle. And that's the one firearm that I've got tuned in to perfectly to me. I've got it. The gas, everything is perfect to where I know exactly how it's going to perform. And everyone knows that if something goes down, the first thing I'm grabbing as far as weaponry would be the battle rifle for sure.
Okay. Gosh, I need to go back and listen to that all again and write it all down, because most answers are pretty simple, like a flamethrower or something like that. But you've already put thought into it.
Yeah. Would I like an A10? Would I like a tank? Would I like a minigun, Browning 50 cal? Sure. But the guns that I have, yeah, I'm grabbing my battle rifle.
Very good. We joke about the zombie apocalypse, but better to be safe than sorry. That's what I say.
And here's the thing: the zombie apocalypse might not ever happen, but the reality of a Red Dawn scenario may not be so far fetched.
Yeah, you got to laugh about it, because otherwise you'll cry about it, and that's no way to spend the day. Okay, well, Trey, thank you so much for coming on the show. And listeners, definitely go to ghosttacticalproductions.com, and you can see all the content there. And you got a great Facebook page. Hey, great job not getting suspended from Facebook as of yet. You're defying a lot of odds, I think. So I assume you haven't gotten too much hassle from Facebook about any content.
No, here's the thing. Most people that get banned or whatever don't take the time to read community guidelines and all of that stuff. And they're not asking you to be a great citizen on the platform. They're just saying, show like you at least care and you're trying to follow and you're trying to play the game. And I think if they see that you're trying to play the game, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
You have a future in politics. And so just remember me. Just remember me when you're a big deal. I knew you back when you were starting out.
I don't know about that. I promised my wife that I'd never get involved with politics. So I don't want to be the man. I want to own the man. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. No, I understand. But here's the deal. When you go to the SHOT Show or the NRA convention especially, and people see that you're good on the mic and you know what you're talking about and you've got the bona fides, some Daddy Warbucks pulls you aside and says, I explained to you, son, how the things work around here. We need people like you in positions of authority. And the next thing you know, you're the vice president of communications of the NRA or something.
Oh, Lord, I can only imagine. God help them all.
All right. Well, Trey, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
If you enjoyed this show and want to hear more, visit tacticalpay.com/podcast to subscribe on your podcast listening platform of choice. And don't forget, Tactical Pay is the leader in firearm-friendly credit card processing. If your company is in need of a merchant services provider who shares your values, visit tacticalpay.com to learn more.